Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. I'm Mary Fran Bontempo with my buddy, Kristen Smedley, and oh my gosh, do we have a guest today. I am so excited to welcome Catherine Grace O'Connell to the show today. Kristen and I were talking before the show started, and she asked me how I came across and found Catherine, and I said, I think God just put her in front of me when I needed to see somebody who is fierce, mastering modern midlife, and I'm using all her buzzwords here, and just, oh my gosh, the woman pulls off thigh-high boots. Can I just say, like, I'm just in awe. Whenever I need a boost, I go to see her Instagram page, I see what she's up to. So, Catherine Grace, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Obviously, I think you and I connected. This is prior to FierceCon in the fall, and then you were busy with grandbabies. There's so many grandbabies.
Oh my gosh, I was. They're popping out all over.
They're everywhere. There's like 6 of them or something and counting. So it took us a little while to reconnect as life would have it. So I'm delighted that we were able to make this happen. And I rarely do podcasts at the moment and get myself, like I said, hair, makeup, clothes. Crazy.
Anything that causes us to be on, have to prepare ourselves at this point in the game. So I'm honored and delighted, and anybody who is looking at you knows why I cannot take my eyes off your Instagram and everything that you have on social media, because obviously you're gorgeous, and I think you're tall, which I'm not, so there's a little bit of height envy there. I just got to put that out because I'm kind of a little bit of a troll. But I want to talk about, you were not always fierce and fabulous. You had a sucker punch. So I want to get into what we call our reset, rise, and the reveal of your brilliance, because you had a challenge. Will you share that with everybody?
Sure, and I think that is clearly we cannot find our resilience, right, or without having a sucker punch or 2 or 3 or a lifetime of them. So I am turning 59, gosh, in 2 weeks. I had a lifetime. I did really not come into find myself until, close to my mid 50s. So I grew up in a, very abusive childhood home. I basically went on to attract the same, kind of situations in ongoing relationships in a marriage, and that were really abusive and really destroyed my sense of self. And so it took me a really long time to kind of put the pieces back together after a heck of a lot of inner work. I've been on a deeply spiritual path for 30 years. And, a few years ago, I had Lyme disease. So basically all of that sort of abuse and trauma and everything, at least my belief system, is it all really internalized trauma, all those things internalized, and led up to a very severe case of late stage Lyme disease, where I had 2 cases of spinal meningitis that were 10 years apart. So they traced it back over 10 years by the time it was diagnosed. So by the time it was diagnosed, and this was 5 years ago, I was a dead woman, and I went through a near-death experience. And after a year, bedridden, seizures, under 100 pounds, left my body, came back, and all this. So finding me took, like you said, it wasn't just a sucker punch for me. As I think it's Oprah talks about, we have things, they hit us, the universe hits us, and it hits it harder and harder and harder until we wake up. And for me, it was a series of really, really hard hits. And I was like, are you going to get this? And it left me with the decision, do I stay or do I go? And I decided to stay. And in that process of deciding to stay here, the universe then really presented me with a whole new life and a whole new mission and purpose, and the fierce me that I'm really just getting to know over the past few years. And it's pretty cool. That's why I think modern midlife is a most amazing time in a woman's life.
I just love to hear that, because I have found, I'm just a couple years older than you, just turned 61. Woo! So I feel the same way. I feel as though, everything that's led up to this point, and again, the sucker punches and the train wrecks and all of that, I'm finally at a place where I can put that in the context that it needs to be put, and then just continue to move forward. And I love that you said you made a decision, because Kristen and I talk about this all the time. You make a decision whether you are going to live in the yuck or whether you're just visiting it. And you at some point decided, I'm not staying here.
Yeah. You know, I really had sort of, I don't know, this struggle. It was really an ongoing life struggle. And my struggle was with life. It really was. It wasn't, I've never really been afraid of dying. I have been on this deeply spiritual path. I know up there is a really, really beautiful place. It was down here that I was struggling with. I was like, okay, I don't understand you humans. This is a really weird place. I have dealt with so much. I'm ready to go. Clearly, you know, the universe was not done with me. It was very, very clear there was more to be done. So my struggle really was with not only, you know, living, but finding a way to love life. You know, for me, it was like just pure survival, and it wasn't thriving and living fierce and enjoying life and, you know, every sacred moment. It was enduring and struggling and, you know, waking up in the morning going, oh, how do I get through this day? Instead of now like, yes, I've got this amazing day to rock. So that's midlife. I really do believe, I don't believe in the midlife crisis, at least from my experience and the many women I talk to like you. It's a midlife awakening, and we can't awaken if we haven't been asleep, right? We can't go through this incredible phoenix rising unless we've got some ashes to burn.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I actually, you know, it took me a while. I'm not as old as Mary Fran.
Of course, thank you. We make that point. She makes that point regularly, just for anybody who's,
That's
you know.
because she always points out she did more TED Talks and wrote more books than I did. So this is the one thing I have that I can say. But anyway, you know, when I hit my big train wrecks and sucker punches, what I realized, and it only took me all these years, right, is that, you know, when people say there's the message in the mess and it is actually a blessing, I don't think the thing when you crash is the blessing. It's when you take that look and say, ooh, what can I do with this? And you're saying, you know, I was at a point in my horrible marriage where it was like, I didn't want to get out of bed every day. I just didn't, because it was like just a battle. And then when it finally ended, and I felt so guilty that it ended, you know, for the kids and your faith and all of that. Then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, just what you're saying. Every single day. And my days are insanity in my house. And even we're in the midst of a huge sucker punch right now, but I still get up in the morning because like jumping out of bed insanely early that Mary Fran can't stand. I'm not allowed to text her till 8 because I get up at 5.
Oh my gosh.
I am like a powerhouse for the first 3 hours because I'm so excited to wake up in the morning and take on all the stuff that comes at me, because pretty much all the toxic is gone. And when you come out of a toxic situation and you don't realize how toxic some things are that you're in. So when they hit that wall and end, you're like, what was our normal. And so I guess it's when you're thrown out of your normal that's when you awaken to that. But Mary Fran and I talk about all the time, and I'm sure that you'll agree that the people that are still having the awful stuck, they don't see that blessing in it. They don't see it as the opportunity. How can I awaken and change everything?
I think it's so true. So thank you so much for sharing that. I apologize. My puppy has that a toy that's making some squeaky noises. So I apologize if you hear
this is life.
Dogs,
that's my blessing at the moment. But you know what? I think what you said, Kristen, is so important. And as women, we tend to judge ourselves, right? So we'll hear somebody else and they're at a different point in this journey. So they're seeing the blessings because they're in the light. When you're in the tunnel, I mean, for heaven's sakes, that train is coming at you. The only light you see is the light of the train coming at you, right? There is no other light to be found. So let's be real. When we're in the tunnel, when we're in the dark night of the soul, we're in the pitch black. And the light is inside of us, right? So the light is always there. It is always there. Sometimes it's teeny, teeny, tiny. And all we have to do is, light it. But sometimes it takes every ounce of our energy to find that light inside of ourselves and light that ember. And so ultimately it burns away the darkness. but let's be really real. This is a really tough journey. And when we go through those dark nights of the soul, sometimes they can feel endless. And sometimes you just peek your head out and you see a little glimmer of light and boom, you're back in the darkness. So for me, this is not a straight out shot. And even now it's like you jump out of bed at 5. I don't do that. But I do look forward to my life most of the time. I still have some dark days.
Yeah.
I think that's part of life. To me, it's like life is like this. It's an upward trajectory, but there's lots of downs in there. And if you think about it, like a slingshot, in order to go forward, we have to pull it backwards, right? So sometimes we have to slide backwards and go, oh, wait a minute, let me catch this because I don't want to go back there. I want to go forward.
I
love that
analogy.
I love that. That's amazing. And you know what else I love? First of all, I love that part of your name is Grace, and you chose that to be part of your name, because I think what you're saying is we have to allow ourselves the grace to feel what we're feeling when we are not on top of the world. We have to acknowledge that, and we have to recognize it, and we have to give it its due. But again, we don't have to live there. We just have to know that this is what's happening now. I acknowledge it. I'm dealing with it. And at least, as Kristen often says, look forward with hopeful eyes.
Yeah, look forward with hopeful eyes. I love that, because back there could be some gunk, right? And what we want to take from that are the nuggets of things that we needed to go through in order to get those lessons and turn those lessons into blessings. While we're going through them, they don't feel like blessings, you know, we don't necessarily get the lesson. We just go, why are we doing this? And why are we still in this schoolroom? Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is a schoolroom, Earth School. It's a really tough school. You know, I have a freaking PhD in rising like a phoenix. I just do, because I've had to, you know, get crushed and rise. So every single time we get crushed, you know, we have an opportunity to tap into that resilience that is in every single one of us, and the grace that you talk about, which is why I chose the name. Whether you believe in God, source, the universe, Buddha, I don't care what you believe in. There is magical, beautiful grace that exists in all times. And most importantly, in ourselves. Sorry, that's crazy about these things.
I am loving that you are, now this is perfect, because I am totally loving, this is life. You are giving us all this wisdom, and you're dealing with your puppy. You know, like it is not like I'm going to decide to be amazing and then you just get to be amazing. You still have to deal with the puppies and the kids.
And you got to deal with picking up the shit, right? So be it with a puppy in life, that is part of life. There is, you know, like I said, it's a blend, and that's where the beauty lies. And this puppy, she goes in to get spayed tomorrow, which is why I'm being really extra gentle and spending every moment with her. I got her right before we went into lockdown, not knowing we were going into lockdown, so I've never left her. So she has never been left alone. So she wants hooked.
You, and she wants your attention.
Oh yeah, that's her mind. That's okay. Now I go out to the store and they're like, oh no, she's gone for 30 minutes.
It's so true. But I think the most important thing we were talking about is grace, giving ourselves that grace. You know, we don't have to wait for the universe or whatever to bestow this grace on us. When we're going through the really tough times, the yucky times, the struggles, give ourselves that grace. We're so hard on ourselves, particularly culturally, societally. I was so hard on myself. Those voices in my head were so mean and so cruel. Everything I had out here projected onto me, be it abusive partners, husbands, whatever, I took it and I turned it tenfold on myself. So I have myself so teeny tiny small. And I think as women, that's what we do. And then we look on social media, there's all these, you know, beautiful things out there. You're like looking at my post with the thigh-high boots, but you're not seeing me. I haven't washed my hair in 5 days, or you know, you're seeing that beautiful frame that I choose for you to see. But I also put a story and a message behind it, so you know that this is just a frame of my life. The life that got me to here was really tough, you know, for women. It's tough, but the toughest times, our darkest times, make us grow the most. And out of that, you know, crisis is opportunity. We're in crisis right now, multiple crises all over the world. And I also see opportunities, and I see people rising, and I see, you know, people firing up. We've been asleep, right? In so many ways, be it racism, all of these other isms out there. We go to sleep and it takes a fire to wake us up, or all these incredible things that are happening in the world that are really difficult, but there's some really amazing blessings coming out of it.
Yeah.
Totally and completely. So So now I want to talk about how, so you were in a mess. How and at what point did that shift for you? And how did you then decide to take this out to other people? Because we always talk about the fact that when you have these challenges, unless you take it outside of yourself and try to help someone, it's just your mess. So take us through that process for you.
Sure. So for me, as I said, I'd been sick for a very long time. I didn't know it was late stage Lyme disease until it was. And then basically, I was diagnosed in spring of 2014. By 11/11/14, I had a near-death experience. So it happened that fast for me. Bedridden, seizures, 3 to 8 hours, bedridden every day, under 100 pounds, organs shutting down, boom, left my body and came back. So that happened fast. So coming back to life, I still came back in the same body. I still came back bedridden. I still came back. It wasn't like I went through the light and, the heavens opened up and everything was gone. No, I still had to deal with me and, picking up the pieces and the rubble of my life while I couldn't walk and could barely talk and could barely function. So it was a several month process in there until spring of 2015. And I was working with a wonderful medical intuitive and empowerment coach. I am an energy worker. I have a master's in spiritual psychology. I've been on this path 30 years. So I had a lot of tools. I had a gigantic toolbox that I decided to actually use. The thing is, we can have these wonderful, this education, this awareness, these tools, but if we don't use them, they're not going to change our lives. So to me, everything is inside out. So I had to rotor-rooter everything inside of me. And it was spring of 2015. I still was doing this up-down thing. Like one day I'd be great, the next day I'd be down, up, down. And I'm like, okay, life is good today, not so good. I think I'm ready to go. Why didn't you take me? So by spring of 2015, my daughter came over one day and she was so frustrated because she saw me getting better and then going back. And she said, Mom, what would you do if you were well? Keep in mind, I can barely walk around the block at this point. And out of my mouth popped, I travel the world. And I'm like, who said that? Like, what? Okay, I can't go anywhere. But I was like, oh my God, there's a dream. So when you have Lyme disease, I imagine any other illness, you live on your computer, you live searching for people's survival stories. You look at the books and the supplements and all these things that help somebody, but that keeps you trapped in illness. So in that moment, it was the first time I actually decided, I grabbed my computer, I started looking at creating a bucket list. My daughter brought me a diary that said bucket list. I hired a travel agent. From that moment on, there was like a switch inside of me that went from illness to wellness, and it never went back. I was like, that's it. I'm going to be well. I wasn't well, but I made a decision to be well, and everything followed from that point. And I never searched for Lyme. I stopped all my protocols. I do not recommend anybody else follow my advice, but what I did for me worked for me. I had to literally get out of the dark hole of illness and switch over to the light of wellness. And I did. And so from that point, it was like weeks later, she's like, Mom, get out of your, pajamas and throw some clothes on. Let's go take some pictures. She grabbed her iPhone. We took some photos. I looked like hell. I'm a skinny rail. Everything's falling off me, but it was fun. And then she's, Mom, why don't you start an Instagram? What's Instagram? What's a hashtag? I have no idea what you're talking about. She set up my Instagram. All of a sudden I had an Instagram. I had to figure out social media and all that stuff. And I was putting up photos and I started telling my story. And I had hundreds of people coming in saying, oh my God, help me. And within the first year, I spoke to over 200 people with Lyme disease, other illnesses. Before I knew it, I had a mission. I had a purpose. I was getting well rapidly, and I decided to launch a blog, and everything sort of snowballed from there.
Wow, that's so
amazing.
fantastic. Well, you give the people the hope that they can get out of it too. And I always say that hope can carry you a long way, further than you could ever imagine. One little 4-letter word could take you. But I mean, I was in that hopeless pit when my boys were diagnosed. And my work now, I just talked with a group of families in Kansas last night and said that, I was there too. I was crying on the couch. I wasn't proud of that story for a while, but now I shout it from the rooftops that I went from that. And I had an incident where it can only be described as a God orchestrated moment with my 3-year-old that switch flipped in my head, and I saw the whole thing differently, and then started moving up from there. And same thing. Now I go and talk about, not necessarily what, a blind person can do, but what a person can do with all the right tools. And we all just need different tools. Like same thing that you're saying. It's just that way that you look at it and get up and out of that. You know, what's funny though, you'll appreciate this. I wanted blindness and like you, Lyme disease to be in the background. If you don't want people to see that first, right? So I spent my whole life with my boys putting it in the background. Doesn't my son, when he goes and asks somebody to prom, puts it right up front on the promposal board, you know, that they do? He spelled prom in Braille, but made it out of chocolate chip cookies. But that's what my kids, that was actually part of my point. My kids have learned that from me, and what a blessing. And then your daughter getting you up and out, like what a relationship it causes, you know, and strengthens with our kids when they go through that with us, and they learn strategies too.
I love what you just shared, because what your kids are doing is teaching people another way to see what some see as a disability or as something they should be hiding, as a weakness, as their strength, as their superpower, as, okay, I was given this. I wouldn't necessarily have chosen this, but as long as I've got these cards, this is how I'm going to play them, and I'm going to make this the best, you know, be it cookie braille, all these things out of it. So people will start seeing me differently. Anybody else who has blindness, I'm giving that hope. Like you talked about hope. I was hopeless. I was in so much despair. I couldn't find a glimmer of hope. And I know many of us can relate to this. Hope is everything. And even if we can't find it, it's there. So we have to have our radar tuned into, let's find a teeny tiny bit of hope, because every bit of hope brings a little bit of light, and every bit of light brings a little bit more light, and an opportunity for more and more and more. And we just turn up that dial on the light, and over time you're like, oh my God, I see everything differently. I see me differently. I see life differently. I see you differently. I see possibilities. And that's really what this, you know, I don't mean to oversimplify it. For me, yes, 1 minute I was a dead woman, and now look at me. But there's a whole process that went on, and there's an up-down process, and there's some good days and some bad days even now.
Yeah.
But if I can do this, if you can do this, if your son can do this, Mary Fran can do what you did. Oh my God. Every single one of us has a different life, a different journey, a different story, but every one of us has that possibility of transforming whatever darkness, whatever struggles, whatever trauma, whatever illness, whatever disability we have into something super positive to go out there and change the world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I love that you turn up the dial on it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is little. Mary Fran's son was on the show talking about his recovery from addiction. And I asked him, what was your big aha moment? And he was like, didn't have one. It was all little tiny things. And it was one of the most wow moments of my life, that, because I think everybody thinks there's that, you know, for me, I always talk about then, and God came in, and David was like, yeah, no, there was
that didn't happen. Yeah.
I dug through every day. And I thought, that's brilliant, because people do wait for the big moment.
And it started for him as it started for you with a decision. Mm-hmm. You know, that little, your decision to just answer your daughter's question. What would you do if you could be well? What would you do? And I think that we, as Kristen was just saying, we expect hope to come, and it has to come in this big package. It doesn't come in a big package a lot of times. It comes in these little ways, these people who are put in our lives, a question, a decision, an idea, to just say yes instead of no, to say, I'm not going to live there, I'm going to move over here. And then you create. And that's what I want to talk about now. My gosh, what you have created. It's so exciting. It's just the words that you use that are within your world. It's Mastering Modern Midlife, which I totally love. And the Forever Fierce Revolution. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So give us the background on all that and how you created this tribe of amazing people based on your own desire to share what you learned.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So it's so interesting. When I go back to my past, I never thought I was creative. I never saw myself as creative in any way, because we all have these labels, right? No, you're creative, I'm not. okay, I'm going to keep myself in this little box. So it was Laura Bruno was the medical intuitive that I was working with, who was really an empowerment coach. And I will never forget, this is one time I'm laying in bed, and I mean, I'm talking full body, like epileptic type seizures. No, I can't move my arms. I can't move my legs. I can't get out of the bed. And she's, I'm on the phone with her, and she's like, you're a creator. You must create. And I was like, what the F are you talking about? I was so mad. It just like came up. I was just furious. And she goes, have you ever heard the story of Matisse? And I was like, no. And she goes, do you know that Matisse created his greatest works of art from bed? And I was like, oh my God, I don't know anything about that. But of course, then I read about Matisse, Joseph Pilates. There's so many stories where people are, because creativity doesn't come from here. It comes from here. It comes from here. It's inside out, right? We're all creators. We come from creation. We are here to create. So every single one of us in our own different ways. And in that moment, that was it. I was like, I was a creator, and I started creating, because creativity is literally then just letting inspiration flow through you. And I started writing, be it I can, talk in my phone, I can have it, all of a sudden all these things are coming out of me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm creating. And then these pictures, and then social media, and putting it all together. So for me, it really was a very organic process. It was, first it's like, I want to travel the world. And then it's one thing, it's listening to the real self inside of you. That was the voice of my true self, instead of the ego making me teeny tiny. Oh, you can't do that. You can't walk around the block. You can't travel the world. And you're not a creator. So those are the voices of your true self speaking. When they spark, you light that fire. All of a sudden it's this giant thing. And so before I knew it, it started taking pictures, uploading, Instagram, blog, and then from there I launched a social service campaign. It was the Fierce 50. It was to inspire and empower women over 50, and it went viral. And all of a sudden I launched a production company. I was hired by national brands to create, commercial content. I'm like, I don't know how to do that, but I would just say yes, and then I'd hang up the phone and go, what the F do I do now? And I'd figure it out. And before I knew it, I'm shooting.
You are speaking our language. We do the same thing. People go, can you do this? We're like, sure. And then we get on the phone, we're like, what do we do?
And you're like, yeah, okay. And then you hang up the phone. Oh my God, okay, now I really got to do this.
Do it.
This is in my mid-50s. I have a production company. I'm shooting commercials for national brands. If I can do this, anyone can. So that creativity was inside of me, and I just unleashed it. So it was the Fierce 50. Then it was creating the Forever Fierce Revolution, which is the tribe with the kind vibe. It is a community to connect, support women at midlife and beyond. We took the 50 off and made it midlife and beyond, because we have women in their 20 to 80. It's like any age, because ageism, doesn't happen at 50. Ageism can happen. Right now it's happening to people sometimes in their 20s, which is crazy. My daughter's an actress in Hollywood. It hits in your 20s. So we took it off, Forever Fierce Revolution. Fierce means living life with a heartfelt intensity, not just aggressive. It's not about being aggressive. So it truly is. It's a tribe with a kind vibe. We have women all over the world. It's huge in diversity. We host events, FierceCon, our event in October. We have women like you guys up there speaking, sharing their stories, sharing their pain, sharing their resilience, sharing their Phoenix rising moments. And so, yes, in a few years, I've created all these things. And one thing, from podcasts to, I said, hosting events, to production companies, to the blog. If I can do it, anyone can.
That's so cool. It's so cool.
Love it.
I'm sitting here listening to you, and I have to laugh, because you will so love this. When Mary Fran and I started this, and she told you before we were recording how it just kind of happened, and then we started the show when we had our first event right before the world shut down and turned it into this show. And we were joking, sort of, ish, is what we always say. We said at our live event, this is our world domination tour. We are going around the world because people need to know our stories and how, if we can do it, you can do it. So I even have files on my computer. It's the world tour. Don't we get our in August, we're presenting virtually, of course, at a sci-fi con. And I said, oh my God, we went so far, we're taking it out of the universe. Like, you put it out there, right? And it happens. And it's just because, you take the opportunities and you put it out. But here's what I love. We say build your tribe and have your tribe around you. You've got a tribe with a kind vibe.
I love
And
that.
I'm listening to all of your success and how you've grown because you are just kindness. As soon as your picture came up and when you watch your Instagram, that's what I love, that your vibe is kind. And that's all that I am drawn to these days, because there's just too much of the anger and hate. So I'm like actually removing people and only in that kind vibe, because it just makes me feel better and I can create more. But I love that whole journey, and that it's in the kind, the tribe with the kind vibe.
Yeah, we literally have no mean girls allowed. Anybody is welcome to me. We live in this influencer blogger world, suddenly turned to influencer world. I do not use that. I don't call myself an influencer, because to me, it's so silly. The metrics they look at, metrics don't matter to me. The only metric that matters is a kind heart. That's it. Our hearts don't know color. They're all the same color, right? So whether you're big, small, we have transgenders in there. We have everything and anything. If you are kind, that's it, you're in. So, and if you are, like we said, we have 20-year-olds who support ageism in their own businesses for whatever reason they want to be in there. We have a few incredible men in there. We have amazing, amazing individuals, and it is the most wonderful group of people. And we literally had one of my fierce sisters. She is from the UK. She's a grandmother. Her grandchild ended up getting diagnosed with a really severe form of brain cancer. This was last December. She's come to 2 different Fierce Cons all the way over from the UK. So she's got a dear, dear tribe of her own that she's created here. When this happened to her, she also was going through a very difficult time financially. And all she did was send me a message, I am really worried financially because I have to travel to London. I have to go, see the baby. I don't have the money to do this. And so all of a sudden we all got together. I said, do you mind if I get some of these people together? We did. Thousands of dollars in her bank account, boom, like that.
Oh,
I mean,
Wow.
just like that was because I know I have goosebumps everywhere. This is how it works. These women, this is who they are. We can move mountains through kindness. It's real. It's it's in our hearts. And when you go to Fierce Con, there are women, the tears are pouring down their eyes. And one of my friends, Jack Perez of Cool Life, she runs her own community. She's like, I don't know how your heart fits in your tiny body. And I'm like, it doesn't. It doesn't. My heart connects to yours and connects to yours and connects to yours. Our hearts are these gigantic, like there's so much energy there. So our hearts can't fit in here. And if we let them grow and grow and grow and grow, we can move mountains. We can touch women all over the world, like you said, sci-fi, cosmos, universe, and beyond.
oh my gosh, I love that so much. I everything that you said resonates so much with us, and I just want to kind of circle back a little bit to the idea that you didn't really know where any of this was going to go. And one of the things that Kristen and I say all the time is don't be married to the outcomes. Just try. If you have an opportunity, try, see where it goes, because I was the same way. I mean, when I started with well, first of all, Kristen's our social media guru, because now that I have her, I'm literally officially washing my hands of the whole thing, and she just does it. But the point is, when you are willing to take that chance, and as you said, just invest your heart in it, and come at it from a place of goodness and kindness and wanting to help, the most extraordinary things happen. And you don't have to have a solid plan. I think when people look at someone like you and your success and the thing that we've built here, they think, oh, well, you had it all figured out. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
And I just love that you're encouraging people to just open their hearts, see what the world offers, and get involved in it.
Thank you. I totally agree with you on many things that you just said, but one in particularly, I think Kristen said as well, when you had this idea for the conference, all of a sudden it's like this world tour, and then boom, you're at sci-fi because it's even bigger. So the universe always dreams way bigger than we ever could. So one thing I learned is to always say, this or something better, because we have a dream and we can put that out there, put our intention out there, but always say this or something better, because the universe is going to bring you better and bigger and brighter. There's also, I shared on the blog this week too, 3 magic words to help us disconnect from that past and the things that we carry from it. And the 3 magic words are up until now. So if we say up until now before anything that we say, because we're usually like, oh, again, I'm not creative. Oh, I'm not this. Up until now, I haven't been creative. Up until now, because that leaves us open to possibility, disconnects us from the past, puts us firmly into the present, because now is all we have is the now. The now is the possibility. So up until now, yeah, you've been all these things. Great. Now I can be anything going forward, this or something better. So immediately we expand our lives. We're human beings. We're basically spiritual beings in these human suits. But in this human suit, I can't possibly see beyond the veil. I can't. Some people can. But I can feel. I know there are beautiful, bright beings out there that want this incredible future for me, that can dream so much bigger than me. And figuring things out. I was not on technology. I was not on social media. I didn't know how any of this works. And I had a Facebook sent a whole research team to my house to research me and how I was using their tools. And by the end, they went to several other people, and it was mostly millennials. And by the end, I said, well, how did I compare with the millennials? And they go, I got to tell you, we're blown away. We have never seen a more sophisticated use of technology. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying I didn't even know what a hashtag was. I didn't know how this works. So we can figure anything out. Give it to a woman at midlife and beyond in her 50s. You are going to get fierce. You are going to get fabulous. You are going to get on fire, because everything that came before, we're going to use that to rise that phoenix. And anything, just don't say no. Say yes, then hang up the phone, go, what the F do I do? Figure it out.
Yeah, hang up quickly after you say yes. And then call somebody that can help you figure it out.
Yeah.
And once all the lockdowns are lifted, we are sending Mary Fran to live with you for a week to learn.
Oh, yeah, that's going to happen.
Can you take care of the puppy?
I'll take care of the puppy. Absolutely. I would be
so
thrilled.
Funny. She'll text me and go, hey, Kristen, I was just on the tweeter. I'm like, stop saying that.
Which I say jokingly. Yeah. I mean,
I tried to press my buttons. Like,
you know what it's called?
Just so crazy.
Well, listen, this has been, I mean, I knew that when we finally connected and we were able to pull this together, I knew it was going to be amazing. It's just exceeded my expectations, and I knew you would. So I can't thank you enough for joining us today, but please, please, please tell everybody everywhere where we can find you, because we all need some Catherine Grace in our lives.
Thank you. We do need a touch of grace, that is for sure. So thank you so much. Thank you. This was such a delight. And Kristen, I was so, humbled to meet you and get to know your story and the journey that you've been through. And Mary Fran, of course, you are a rock star in all the different phoenixes that you have risen and continue to rise. So thank you for the opportunity of joining you guys and sharing my story. And so you can find me many places. I am usually going a lot of places at once. So my Instagram is at Catherine Grace O. My blog is linked there in my LinkedIn profile, catherinegraceO.com. I have a podcast. It is Mastering Modern Midlife. It is a video podcast, very Oprah style. Forever Fierce Revolution, again, all of this is on my blog, linked at once. Forever Fierce Revolution community is right here on Facebook. It is an amazing global community, and it is the Tribe with the Kind vibe. And then what else? I guess I have Forever Fierce Media, which is my media company, but that is more for brands. So yeah, that's it. And FierceCon, when it is back, we'll probably do a virtual FierceCon in the interim, but we are going to be taking FierceCon on the road. So once we are healthy and safe, we're going to be taking it to multi-cities.
Put Philly on the list. We're both in Philly. Get the East Coast.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. East Coast. We will welcome you with open arms. So everybody, please, please, please check out Catherine Grace O'Connell. As you have heard today, she is kind, she is wise, she's delightful, and boy, does she know how to rock a cool outfit. I mean, I just can't even, she's my rock star inspiration. So please check her out. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, we will see you tomorrow for another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. Take care. Bye-bye.